of his NetJets G550s, filling it with his billionaire buddies, including Bill Gates and Charlie Munger, and taking a journey halfway around the globe. CNBC has exclusive behind-the-scenes access, and over the next hour, we take you along for the ride.
It has been good to China, very good. In fact, this booming economy, which is now the nation's second largest, has created hundreds of thousands of millionaires and 117 billionaires just in the last 10 years. That population of billionaires just got a little bigger, though, with some brand new arrivals from the United States. Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Charlie Munger, Walter Scott. They're all here in China and have just arrived. You want to find out why? We'll tell you as we go inside the Billionaires Road Trip.
This trip is only Buffett's third time to China. His first adventure there came in 1995. He was with his buddy Gates then too, but the focus was fun. Camel racing across the desert in Dunhuang and flying kites on the Great Wall of China.
The first time we had a terrific time. We went all over China. We spent 17 days there. There were 7 couples, and we went by plane, by train, by camel, by you name it, all over China.
The second trip was in the fall of 2007 after Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway bought Israeli toolmaker Iskar. Buffett came with Iskar chairman Eitan Wertheimer to check out the local operations.
About 2 years ago, Eitan sent me a letter. It was on October 15th, 2005.
Fast forward 3 years later. Buffett's plane leaves from Omaha at 8:30 on a Sunday morning. After making a stop in Seattle to pick up the West Coast passengers, they jet off to Alaska for a quick refueling. Again, no long layovers, just a 15-minute stop before heading for Shenzhen, China. There are no coach seats here.
Your ketchup, strawberry jelly, strawberry preserves.
And once the wheels are down in China, there are no long lines to get through customs. Instead, flowers and a receiving line await them. While traffic jams are legendary here, a recent jam stretched for 60 miles and lasted 9 days. This group glides right through thanks to police escorts and closed roadways. Buffett and company are here to learn more about BYD, the Chinese car maker Berkshire Hathaway bought a 10% stake in back in 2008. But for this group, Chairman Buffett, Vice Chairman Charlie Munger, board members Bill Gates, Walter Scott, and Ron Olson, and Berkshire manager David Sokol, learning about new businesses is more of a pleasure cruise.
This has got to be the wealthiest car in all of the whole entire world. It's so good to see you again, Warren.
In the line. Here's nice. Yes.
Bill, you didn't look too sure on that.
How was the ride, Warren?
I'm ready to order one. If I'd had a car like that in high school, I would have had a lot of dates.
A group of the world's richest men draws plenty of press scrutiny here, and everywhere Buffett, Gates, and the others travel, the paparazzi awaits.
Okay.
Mr. Buffett, can I have your autograph?
But while the billionaires make plenty of stops to promote BYD, as only the Chinese can, it's what happens offstage that really shows you what they think about China, BYD, and business and politics in general. Up next, what life is like for Buffett and company when the photo ops are over for the day. And what brought these billionaires all the way to China? How one car maker is beginning to lap the competition, but hitting some speed bumps along the way.
Well, 10% was all we got offered when it was back at $8 Hong Kong. And my partner Charlie Munger said I'm an idiot because I didn't buy more.
Well, I wouldn't say idiot because there's so much competition in America for that honor that Warren can't really excel.
But there's huge urgency in the talks because we want to finalise this. We want to put Ireland in a credible position. We want to demonstrate that Ireland can borrow into the future.
World leaders talk exclusively to CNBC. We need the world to buy more products that are made by Spanish companies.
We've put together a very strong coalition government and rather defied some of the critics who thought that it wouldn't be a strong government.
There is not a single advanced economy which has not to reflect upon it a better governance, if I may. We also.
What makes professional traders and investors around the world successful? They're savvy. They do their homework. They look for the best deal. And they find it at Interactive Brokers. Our platform and services have been designed specifically for employees of financial service firms. Interactive Brokers. Stocks, options, futures, forex, bonds. Worldwide from one account.
Jose Carreras is a priest with a problem. While away, his wife has strayed. Will her love be enough to gain his forgiveness? Verdi's Lost Opera, a shocking story of faith, revenge, and family honor. Stifelio, CNBC Performance, this Sunday at 1700 CET in association with Rolex.
I have decided on my own council to step down as Uachtaráin Fianna Fáil and leader of Fianna Fáil.
Ireland was bailed out. Now Brian Cowen has been forced out. On February the 25th, Ireland gets a new government. But the finance bill is already law, so will the election change anything? CNBC will be in Dublin to assess the impact on Ireland and the EU. The Irish elections, a special report. Next Monday on CNBC.
Cameron said tonight the brutality must stop.
The scenes of repression we saw by that regime, the violence, the brutality, that has got to stop. That is completely unacceptable, and that is completely the wrong thing to do. And I think in terms of Britain and Libya, look, I think it was right to welcome Libya giving up weapons of mass destruction, but I think we should have done it, and I've argued this before, with a slightly harder edge and a slightly clearer agenda on what.
More on David Cameron in Cairo later, but there have been demonstrations outside many Libyan embassies and offices around the world. In London, obviously, there were protesters gathering to vent their anger over Colonel Gaddafi's regime. Kathy Newman is there tonight. Kathy, the situation where you are now, and indeed the state of the flag.
Well, it's peaceful now, but there have been noisy protests going on all day here. And at one point, one protester scaled the front of the building, climbed onto the balcony and changed the flag from the Gaddafi flag to the traditional Libyan flag. And there was the police were then called and the protesters were forced to cross the road. But there was a pretty amazing scene just about less than half an hour ago. The staff from the embassy came out on the balcony and tried to change the flag back. And there was a big noise, a big shout from the protesters across the road, and they retreated back inside. So it's obvious who's got the upper hand here. They looked kind of cowed. There have been rumours all day that the ambassador, Omar Jelban, was going to defect, but certainly when he was summoned to the Foreign Office for that interview without coffee, he, I'm told, gave the impression that he was sort of making excuses for the Gaddafi regime. But while he's staying loyal, other ambassadors around the world, other embassies have not, and they've been defecting. Libya's deputy ambassador to the UN has accused the Gaddafi government of war crimes, and the envoy to China resigned at the weekend on live TV. So it's no surprise that they daren't take the flag down here.
Kathy Newman at the Libyan embassy. It's the speed and violence with which the popular uprising has taken hold in Libya that's been so shocking. Why, after more than 40 years of Colonel Gaddafi's rule, does his regime appear to be falling apart so rapidly? Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Jonathan Rugman examines the Libyan revolt and its bloody consequences.
He's the cruelest tyrant in the Arab world. He's witnessed the downfall of his neighbouring despots in Egypt and Tunisia. And judging by his son Saif's speech last night, Colonel Gaddafi seems determined not to go the same way.
Our morale is high. The leader Muammar Gaddafi is here leading the battle in Tripoli. We are with him. The armed forces are with him, and there are tens of thousands of supporters flocking to Tripoli. We shall not abandon Libya. We shall fight to the last man, last woman, and last bullet.
Gaddafi's response to protests in Benghazi has been a shocking level of violence. Over 200 believed killed in the last few days. Kill or be killed, the philosophy of this regime. But as Bahrain showed last week, violence is not a fail-safe strategy. Shot and injured civilians filled a Bahraini hospital, fueling more outrage and making the protests there grow. And as in Egypt, the role of the army is crucial. In Cairo, soldiers refuse to shoot protesters. Armies can't always be trusted when the enemy is within, as Colonel Gaddafi has now discovered.
Gaddafi gambled on his security forces remaining loyal, and initially that gamble succeeded in that they fired where Egyptians and the Tunisians were not willing to do so. Slowly but surely that fractured. We've seen mass defections, we've seen protests penetrate into Tripoli, the heart of his regime.
And Gaddafi's army, for all its displays of unity, could split along tribal lines. Two of Libya's biggest tribes have already come out against their leader, which makes the colonel's reported reliance on foreign mercenaries seem a credible last resort. Gaddafi's son Saif has been a link man for the West, seen here escorting home from Scotland the man convicted of the Lockerbie bombing. But Saif's reputation was as a reformer, and he may have been coerced into making last night's rambling speech by his increasingly desperate father.
The world will not allow the chaos taking place in Libya. It will interfere to stop it and put Libya under the mandate of colonialism. Everyone who does not expect this is wrong.
But the spectre of a return to colonial rule has not scared Libyans into submission. These pictures are reportedly from the city of Tobruk today. For over 40 years, Gaddafi has built modern Libya in his shadow. Either he survives through ruthless violence, or Libya descends into civil war, or Libya's generals fill the vast vacuum the Gaddafi personality cult will leave behind.
Jonathan Rugman. Well, back now to Omar, the UK head of the Libyan Youth Movement, who's receiving live information out of Libya all the time. And here in the studio, Professor Fawaz Gerges, a professor of Middle Eastern politics, London School of Economics. Omar, just give us a couple of instances where you have eyewitness accounts coming into you of the military attacking the people.
Firstly, we got a message, we got an email actually from Al-Bayda, which is in the valleys in East Libya, And what they said to us exactly is these people that are coming to Libya and killing us, they've got snipers. They don't speak Libyan at all. They're speaking French, and they seem to be from sub-Saharan Africa. They're paid to come to Libya. They're not Libyans. And what they said to us is the police are siding with us constantly, because Gaddafi seems to have shot himself in the foot here by bringing in non-Libyans against Libyans, and that is turning brigades from the army and the police with the Libyan people. We're getting an incredible amount of messages coming out. We're relaying them onto the media. It's unbelievable what we're hearing. I cannot believe it. My father and my family, and I've seen myself what Gaddafi's been doing to people, but I didn't know he would go this far. I thought he would have gone by now. I was hoping Saif al-Islam's speech yesterday was that my father's gone out of the country, we're going to leave the country and turn the army for the people, and you can set up an interim government or whatever, but no. We didn't get that. He's going to go and he's going to try and get rid of every last one of the protesters. And the international people must speak, the governments.
Omar, thank you. Professor Gerges, let's just look now at the reality that Libya is without precedent in the sense that there is no army council, there is nothing that can obviously take over in the way there was in Tunisia and there is in Egypt.
Not only there is no army council, there is no civil society. There are no institutions. Say what have you about Tunisia and Egypt. Egypt has a thick layer of civil society. You had free media, relatively free media, free associations, universities, a very vibrant social milieu. Nothing in Libya. The morning after...
Well, there are universities, aren't there?
Well, but they're all controlled. They're all controlled by what Gaddafi has done in the last 42 years, decimate civil society, decimates institutions. It's the cult of Gaddafi. He calls Libya al-Jamahiriya.
But on the other hand, this is a country which has experienced chaos at regular intervals down the years. 1969, before he came in, chaos.
Absolutely.
1936, as Saif himself referred to. So this sounds like preparation for a country plunged once again into total chaos.
Absolutely, and that's why the morning after. I mean, the challenges in Libya are much greater than the challenges in Egypt or Tunisia. But I am hopeful. The courage of the Libyan people, the dignity, the ability, determination to challenge one of the greatest tyrants in the Middle East is a testament to their free will and political will and their hope, their investment in the future.
Professor Gerges and Omar, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We'll have much more on Libya later in the programme, and we'll be discussing many more of the implications, and we'll be looking at the rest of the